Hi everyone, Joy Divergence here today. I'm here to talk about the fourth step of how to get out of the matrix. This section I refer to as getting out of the prisoner's matrix more specifically. When you think about the prisoner's matrix, you have to know how to overcome the prisoner's triangle first. The prisoner's triangle consumes of three different areas. The first area is the villain. The second area is the rescuer. And the third area is the victim. Usually this cycle is a repeated process that happens in the prisoner's dome over and over and over again. But if you ever think about when you look at a dome and how there are several triangles, but they all represent the same one. It's just different layers and different triangles, different challenges that you've held on to throughout life. So when you actually get to a point of where you are ready to learn how to overcome the prisoner's triangle, it comes in different phases. Each phase, you have something you need to resolve. Usually when you're looking to resolve these challenges, you need to look within. In order to do so, some of the things that I've done in my previous videos are of support for that. The grounding, the centering, going through a releasing, resolving process. And the one that I did with you was a meditation. But this is far more advanced. Let's say you were to choose a shape, whatever shape that first comes to mind. The shape is an example of the tables of a shape of like how many people at a table, of how many individuals that you will need to face. But when you face them, it's not in the average way. Instead of going deep within the mind in some meditations, in this particular case, you can do this straight up front. You do not have to go very far. You choose that shape, you see which one first comes to mind. Then you write down however many people come to mind. Now, you can write their names if you choose. And when you do so, you can actually choose to go far more in advance of how you choose to face them. But for today, I'm going to show you the basic principle. Today, you choose the shape. You write down the individual's name, or however many that might be. Now, if it is many, in some cases, some people have to face many. There are more advanced steps for that, and I can walk you through a process that will actually help you get through those ones. So do not go further, is the warning, without extra help. But it is the same basic principle. But when you go to face something like that, please, I invite you, I implore you to be able to reach out for support and help so that you actually have the guidance to do so. But on this basic one, you put their names, then you put what they say, what they're saying to you, the first words that are coming to mind, especially of the ones that are stopping you from moving forward in life. You write those down, and in this meantime, you can pause the video if you like until you've done that. Now that you've done that, go ahead and come back. Once you've written those things down, I'm going to have you do the same shape again. But this time, You're going to look back at what they said and look at it as if you ask yourself, well, what was said, does it serve me to listen to that? Or do I need a better message? Because those messages, the ones that are causing more harm than good, are not going to help you. They're there to cause more challenges in life, if not a devastating amount sometimes for those that are doing the more in-depth process of this. But for now, just face the bare minimal of what you need to. Something small, something simple. As you do, let's say it was a triangle. A triangle has 3 sides, 3 points. So as you go to the 3 points and you write down what they said, and you write down their name if you choose. But this is where it becomes a little interesting. This is where you get to fire the individual, as it were. And you could even do it in a funny way. You don't have to do it all serious even. You can say, "You fired!" Let's make it a little funny just so that this isn't so melodramatic. But let's say that you said that to each individual in a way that serves you. Now, if you're angry at them and you need to really just let it out and just say "you fired," but in a way that's going to be where you're pissed off, well, go ahead and say it. But you're doing this on a piece of paper, keep in mind. Or you can do it in your mind. But I invite you to start with the paper. It's the more simple step, and you may want to jump in and plunge in. I know I did when I first started. But for now, let's start simple. We need to help you to recognize the smaller steps so that you can have enough information when you reach the larger steps that it is more simple for you to do, so it's not so challenging. For some of you, you may have come across some challenges in your life that have caused you some really hard challenges and devastation. But let's say in the middle of this shape that you've chosen, let's say that you end up putting what you desire most. In the sense of saying like, well, what do you want? Now, when you go to put what you want in the center of this, I advise you strongly to choose something of happier energy. Now, keep in mind, this is not always necessary for you to go out and take action out in the world. Not yet. The smallest of actions can make the biggest difference. But for some of us who have had a lot of trauma happen, there is a fair warning when you go into this journey. This is to help you to face what is in the unknown, in the subconscious, and these stories that you have allowed yourself to hold on to that have caused you more challenge and grief, anger, than what is necessary. That is what we are here to teach you to release while you are focusing on what you want. I invite you to choose something that is light and frothy. I know it sounds completely ridiculous to those of you who have never had light and frothy in your life, but I invite you to do the same. Choose something that's basically like, I want to make a birthday cake for so-and-so, or I want to make a card for them. Something simple. Or if it is simply just you want to put a smile on their face, then I invite you to look within to what message you'd want to give them that's of goodness, that fulfills your heart and your spirit. It helps you to stay focused in your mind and allows your body to feel like it can be with what it is you choose. And that you don't fear it whatsoever. In fact, if anything, you feel peace. So when you go into this and you say you fired to these, either a singular individual or many, like if there's 5 or 8, if you chose an octagon, I don't know, depends on what you chose. And let's say that you took a step beyond. Because after you fired them, on the next triangle that I had you already put down on the other picture, you're going to put what you want in there as well. Take a deep breath. And recognize that for once, you have a different opportunity to do things that are to help you rise above what they have said. For some of you, you believe in angels. For some of you, you believe that there are just people out there that happen to be there in a moment's notice when you need them most. Some of you believe in God. And some of you believe in something completely different, even beyond that. The universe, perhaps. Mother Earth. So I'm going to invite you to reach out to your source of goodness and ask it. What is the message that you have for me today that would help empower me more than what this individual has said? And you wait for the message. The message that comes to you, write it down on the new triangle in place of where the other one that didn't serve you. Now you can either choose to fire all of those at once, or you can fire them one at a time and then write these down. These are one of the options. But as you do, you release the ones that didn't serve you to begin with. And you open up even more so. Now that you've written down what is of goodness that comes from your source, I invite you to ask yourself, what is my next step to obtaining my dream life? And some people may not even want to do that because they feel that they don't deserve it or something, but cast those out for a side for a moment. Cast those feelings and thoughts out for a moment. And really focus on what is of goodness within you. And find yourself again. Now, these messages that came from the beings of goodness, once you have completed that, I want you to imagine for a moment how old you were when you received those messages. And you don't need to question it. You just ask in a general sense. And the first number that comes to mind, just write it down. And you go, okay, I'm going to go back to, if it's your 7-year-old self or 9-year-old self, you do what you need to. But you go back to that part of yourself. And you share those messages of goodness with them. And then let them know that you are there for them. Now, again, the mind is a very tricky thing. So when you go to tell this message, if the individual that is yourself, but back at that time and in that place, doesn't want to hear it yet, you may need further help. Again, please reach out for assistance if you come against this problem. In the meantime, I invite you to choose something that you can do within the next 5 minutes of how you could celebrate something like this, maybe 24 hours max. But what's the first thing that comes to mind for you to celebrate with this? How would you celebrate it? What's the first thing, how to celebrate it? And as you do, make sure that you do it to the fullest. And do it for a whole 5 minutes if you need to. And make it so that it is at the level of your liking. It is at the level of your need to have that void filled until it is fulfilled. And each time that you do this, it is a piece of one of the tools of resolving that energy within you. So I invite you to take the time to do what is the first thing that comes to mind in the best way that you can possible. It doesn't mean that if you can't do it within the next 24 hours and it seems like too much of an impossible task, maybe you need to ask yourself, well, what's a step that I can do towards that? You will find your answers because they are within you. I invite you to say it to yourself, all I need is within me now. All I need is within me now. For a long time, I did not want to believe this. For a long time, actually, when I first started, I fought it. I argued with God. I argued with the universe. And said, no, you want me to do this? No way. But I realized over time that there was more to it. I had good mentors. I had people who taught me a path to the light. That being said, there are certain individuals who may watch this video that are in the energy frequencies of where there is color when you see these things. But if your triangle, when you first chose it, the one that you chose, if you were to go back and you were to choose a color for it, that's the color I invite you to put on there. And then ask it, what do I need to get to a higher frequency? Now, most people don't understand that, so maybe it's a higher energy is the word that you need to use. But you use the word that serves you to help you to understand what it is you need to do. But as you do this, allow yourself to be open and willing to be teachable and coachable. Not just a 1 out of 10%, a 10 out of 10%. Because if you're not committed, this will not do what you need it to do. So take a deep breath in and release. All that you need. In due time, things will change and transform into the way that we want them to. It may not seem like it is going to be very simple at first. But allow yourself to hold space for yourself during this time. Nobody is perfect, not even me. But what I share with you is vital. It will help you to move out of the norm of what you have been living in and get you what you truly desire, and that will become your new norm. You will have a new normal in life as you do this. But I invite you to also look at this as if doing a lightning belief breakthrough. It is where you ask yourself, what is the limiting belief that is showing up for me? In other words, what is the pain or the fear or the doubt or the need to be right about those pains, fears, and doubts? That's where your ego shows up. But what is it? What is it that's showing up for you today as an opportunity for growth that you feel frustrated about, or maybe you feel sad and you feel hesitant maybe? Some people feel like it's not okay to grieve. It's not okay to feel your emotions. It is. As long as you're doing it in a way that serves you and mankind. And what I mean by that is that you cannot harm another person because you're doing this with the intention of not harming yourself. You're doing this with the intention of releasing what no longer serves you. That's what the intention for this is to learn. Is for you to learn that what has stopped you in the past from fulfilling your personal dream life, being with family, being with loved ones. And if you don't have a family or a loved one that you're with, please, I implore you to reach out so that we can help you to have that, which you do not have. And you are more than welcome. Yes, we want you to be friends. Yes, we want to be able to help you along in your journey. But also understand. Sorry, I have phlegm coming up. But also understand that there is something far more beyond. This is not a simple task to do. Not always. Because sometimes it shows up in a really big way. And that really big way sometimes can be scary. But I'm here to let you know something. You no longer have to do this alone. Your time is now. Love yourself. And if you don't know how, ask. Ask the universe. Ask God. Say, how can I love myself? Ask your source. How can I love myself? And if you get an answer back that says you can't, please reach out. We will guide you through. The matrix is a very tricky place. It's like the mind. But our mind can play tricks on us if we're not really aware. Sometimes that means that we need to become aware of what our actual reality is versus what our perceived reality is. And it takes time. So be patient. Love yourself. Love those around you to the best of your abilities. We know that this is challenging times, especially with the world changing overnight. But you are more than worth it. Every being is worth it. Every human being is worth it. Know that you are loved. And throw some laughter in there today. Big bear hugs to all of you. Namaste.